It's Friday, June 16th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we're going to travel to the Coast Guard Museum for our weekly arts and culture segment. Then we'll find out more about the father-daughter dance being held tonight at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center with program coordinator George Noonan. We'll also find out what we can expect for this summer's Hyannis Harbor Hawks season. And finally, we'll chat with Assistant Harbor Master Jared Smaller on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. Town Council votes to hold a special town election ahead of the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School vote. The special election will be to vote on a Proposition 2.5 override that would fund a new Cape Cod Regional Technical High School should the new building project be approved by voters in October. Town Council also approved spending $375,000 in community preservation funds to build a new playground at Barnstable West Barnstable Elementary School. The playground needed replaced after it was deemed unsafe and torn down. With the community preservation funds and private donations, the playground fund is now over $425,000. You can now enjoy direct flights to New York. Channel 18's Megan Mamlock has more.
We're here at Barnstable Municipal Airport in Hyannis, where JetBlue is in its fourth season, bringing direct flights from here to New York.
We're so happy that they're here. We just had hoped that they would start earlier this year. Last year they started on May 15th, and this year June 15th. So we were hoping that they would be able to continue to expand their coverage here in the shoulder seasons, but their numbers and their need for aircraft at other locations said otherwise. So if we can, we're working to get them to come. We'd love to have them come year-round. We're just so happy that they're here. This is their fourth year. They're still flying the same plane, an Embraer E190, 100 passengers, and looked pretty full today. I'm not sure what the exact number was that got off, but I'd say it was probably close to 80 to 90 people got off that plane. So that was good. Those are good numbers, and we'd like to keep that up.
Inbound flights from New York are scheduled to arrive in Hyannis at 12:17 p.m. daily. Flights are due to depart for New York about 40 minutes later at 12:54 p.m. This year, the popular JetBlue flights will extend deep into September, with flights 4 times a week between Friday, September 8th through Sunday, September 24th.
The Hyannis Chamber of Commerce will host its annual car show this Sunday. The Father's Day event is a tradition for many families. Main Street will be closed to traffic for the event, and hundreds of classic cars will be on display up and down the street. The event is fun for the whole family. The fun begins at 10 on Sunday and goes until 2. But just a note for traffic, Main Street will close for the day at 8:30 Sunday morning. Up next is our arts and culture segment highlighting the Coast Guard Museum.
So I'm joined today with Buck Bailey, the Vice President of the U.S. Coast Guard Museum in the town of Barnstable. Thanks for being here with us, Buck.
Thank you for being here.
So what can Cape Codders expect to find when they come here to the U.S. Coast Guard Museum?
They can find a lot of history and information that they probably didn't know about the Coast Guard and its predecessor services, including the U.S. Revenue Cutter Service that was established in 1790, through the U.S. Life Saving Service, the U.S. Lighthouse Service, the U.S. Lightship Service, even the Steamship Regulatory Authority, and all the different agencies that eventually made up the Coast Guard. A lot of our donations come from local Cape Codders. Most of the volunteers have some experience with either being in the Coast Guard or related to activities on the Cape. A lot of the artifacts are related, including this beach cart here, which was the last operational beach cart used in the Coast Guard, was actually used in a rescue in 1962 off of just south of Provincetown. Awesome. We also have, we go all the way from that history all the way up to the modern times, including a display on the 2 Coast Guard astronauts we have one of which is a Cape Cod resident.
So what are some of the exhibits within this museum that people can get excited for? Can you describe some of them that are located around this building?
Sure. One of which, like I say, is a rescue cart. This is a complete set of accoutrements and stuff that they would have used to do the beach rescues. Upstairs is in the lighthouse and lightship room are a lot of artifacts from lightships and lighthouses that were present here on the Cape. There's obviously we can't have too many ships in here, boats, but we have a lot of models, including the Coast Guard cutter Campbell, which was built by a former coastie that lives up in Rhode Island, spent 5 years building that 5-foot model. We have a new model of the Cuyahoga, which was another model builder that's a large model. The aviation section has a lot of airplanes, models up there of aviation throughout the Coast Guard history, which is this year is actually 101 years old since the Coast Guard's been flying. And a lot of uniforms. The Coast Guard changed its uniforms in 1974, so we have a lot of pre-1974 uniforms, in fact, going back to the Revenue Cutter Service as well as the Life-Saving Service and World War II and even before that.
So I understand there's been some updates. I hear that you might have a new audio tour.
Yes, we actually purchased it a couple of years ago, but this is the first year we've really gotten around to implementing it. So right now we have about 70 different commentaries throughout the museum. And there's 3 different types too. One type is history, covers the history of the building and the agencies and stuff. The second type is specifics associated with a particular artifact that you would see in the museum. But the third is what we refer to as personal stories or living history. Internally we refer to them as clean sea stories. But basically it's personal experiences that people that have had with the Coast Guard and gives the listener a real sense of what it was like, you know, to actually be in the Coast Guard and have some of these experiences.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's all totally self-guided. There's little cards throughout the museum that basically tell you what the name of the commentary is, what it's about, what type it is, and how long it is.
That's awesome that people get to hear that. That's really cool.
We've gotten a lot of good reviews on it, so we're excited about it.
If people want to find out more information, where can they go to find out more about the U.S. Coast Guard Museum?
Sure. We have our own website, coastguardheritagemuseum.org, as well as a Facebook page, Coast Guard Heritage Museum on Facebook. And we'd welcome people's comments or questions, and there's a link to an email site so they can email us, ask questions if they'd like.
And what are your hours?
We're open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., opening the 1st of May and staying open through the end of October.
Awesome. Well, today our guest was Buck Bailey, the Vice President of the U.S. Coast Guard Museum. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
For more information, you can visit those websites or give them a call.
And as you can see, we've kept our intern Megan very, very busy over the last few weeks, and she's going to help us find out more about the Hyannis Harbor Hawks this season.
So I'm here today with President Pfeiffer of the Hyannis Harbor Hawks and the coach Chad Gassman. Thank you for being here today. So what can we expect with this upcoming season for the Harbor Hawks?
Well, you never know exactly what you're going to expect, but we're always fighting for a conference championship, and then eventually we want to win the whole thing, which we haven't done in a few years. What, about 30 years?
A lot.
A lot of
years.
It's been a while. So that's what we're always striving for, and but the main thing is we're going to give the kids a great experience. They're going to get a lot of exposure from the pro baseball world, and we're going to expect them to play hard and have a great summer.
So with these baseball players, everyone knows that they come from all over the country. What's so special about the players this year, do you think, that you've selected?
Well, again, as always, they're some of the premier college players in the country. They're coming from some of the best programs in the country. To be honest, though, you never know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to emerge. I mean, you got a couple guys, you know, we got Ford Proctor coming back from Rice, had a real good summer last year. We expect the same. So, you know, that's one I can think of. But they're all good players. It's just what kind of summer are they going to have? And that's always the exciting part. You just never know. You don't know who's going to emerge in that top 100 group. So.
And what are some events that we can expect to see the players at or attending around the Cape?
Well, they're starting off next weekend. Because of rain in the spring, the mini Fenway dedication for the new Little League park is next Sunday. So some players are actually going to do a clinic on Saturday, and then Ozzie and some of us are going over on Sunday for the dedication, and then all the Little Leaguers are coming here on Saturday night, 17th. And we have our usual Christmas in July. This year we have a celebrity softball game. Spalding Rehab Hospitals on Friday night, July 21st, as part of All-Star Weekend. It's having a celebrity softball game, and led off by Jason Varitek, who hasn't been on this field since 1993, which is the last year we won the championship. So that answers that question.
And speaking of dedications, the name of the field has changed too.
Changed last year. It's now Judy Walden Scarafile Field at McKeon Park. Judy retired last year after 27 years with the Cape League and as president of the league.
In addition to those changes, you also were talking about the concession stand.
It's open again this year. After taking last year off because of some water issues, the gourmet brunch and the snack bar has returned.
That's awesome. In addition to the events that you guys put on, what are some things that kids on the Cape can look forward to besides like your baseball camps? Do you want to explain that a little bit? Or your baseball clinics?
Well, we run baseball clinics. I don't have the brochure in front of me, but I think it starts in about 3 weeks, right? Yeah, it's going for 6 weeks this summer. There's 6 sessions. It's ages 5 and up. We had to tag team that question. So, but
and the players are playing with them too, so it's a cool experience for kids to have a one-on-one experience with the players. Right.
So Coach Andrew Chuck, one of our assistants, with my assistants, we run the camps, and then we'll always have some baseball players out here helping with instruction.
That's awesome. So. Is there anything else that you think that everyone in the town of Barnstable should look forward to or expect from you guys this summer?
I think the thing is, I encourage everyone to come out to the ballpark, and you just never know who's going to be one of those next big leaguers. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the exciting thing. I think that's why Brad and I both just love the summers. We get to be a part of something really special, and that something special is watching these kids develop. There's big leaguers right now that I've been watching that, you just didn't, at this time when they stepped on Cape, you weren't sure what was going to happen. Now they're big leaguers.
Right.
So. And we have some proud alumni, Sean Manaya, he's pitching in the big leagues right now. Freeland, Kyle Freeland, Jeff Hoffman, all those guys were just here a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. So, at this time when they came in, we weren't sure what to expect. So it's really, I think that's what the fans can really see is you don't know who's going to be that next great big leaguer.
And when's your first opening home game?
Next Wednesday night for the 14th.
Perfect. And what time?
6 o'clock.
Perfect. So you can catch them, and for more information you can go on the Hyannis Harbor Hawk website for more information and for the dates of the games.
Well, tonight dads and daughters can dance the night away. We're going to learn more about the father-daughter dance with program coordinator George Noonan. So George, an exciting weekend for fathers this weekend. Of course, Father's Day is Sunday. Lots of activity around the holiday. And you guys are having a very special event Friday night, the 5th annual Father-Daughter Dance.
Yep, yes, looking forward to it.
What kinds of things will fathers and daughters be able to take advantage of when they come to the dance?
Well, when they first come in, they check in the door and pay their entrance fee, which is $20 per couple. They get the young ladies receive a corsage at that point that they can wear on their wrist. From there, they go on and take a picture, a memento, a keepsake, a picture of the significant other that's with them and their daughter. Take a picture, and then into the dance part. And we have a DJ playing music, and we have all sorts of delicious snacks and like cookies and cupcakes and juice and water and fruit and stuff like that set up for them to eat. And then during the night, we do a couple little contests and games, like limbo or freeze dance, or maybe this year might be a father-daughter dance competition.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yes.
It's so important, I think, to get out and really enjoy a special time with fathers and daughters. But this isn't just for fathers and daughters. This is really for anybody who has a special relationship.
Absolutely. I know for myself, one of the reasons why, I did this dance was a few years ago when I was working back at the Boys and Girls Club in Mashpee. A young member of the club actually invited me to her father-daughter dance.
Wow.
And she was a Girl Scout. So, I made a big deal of it at the time. I got dressed up, wore a suit and tie, got her flowers, and it was a nice night. And, a few years ago, even before the HYCC opened, Mark Bordley ran the event at the senior center for the town. And then all of our jobs changed when the HYCC opened. The event kind of was held off to the side. And I was like, I'm going to bring this back because I just thought it was such a cool idea.
And it's such an important time. I think it really does give young girls an idea of how they should be treated, and they have that feeling special. So really, and only $20 per couple, so very affordable. And it's intended for kids in grades 1 through 7. Is that right?
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah, so a really fun time. Thank you, George, for joining us today and telling us everything we need to know about the father-daughter dance. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.
All right, talk to you soon, George.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
My guest today, Program Coordinator George Noonan. Joining me now live on the phone, we had with us Jared Smaller, Assistant Harbor Master for the town of Barnstable. We've had some beautiful weather, Jared. Everyone is very excited to head back out on the water. But before they do, what can you tell us that they need to think about as far as safety goes? I want to make sure everyone is safe out there.
Well, there's a few different aspects, and you can prevent a bad day before you even leave the dock by making sure that you check all of your safety equipment and ensuring that you have everything that's required based on the size of your boat, number of people on board, as well as their ages, which primarily the biggest thing is having personal flotation devices or life jackets for every person on board. And in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, anyone under the age of 12 is required to wear a life jacket anytime they're underway on a boat or above decks on a boat that's underway. So that's the biggest thing I can tell you is wear your life jackets while you're underway. And, possibly take a boating safety course. If you've taken one in the past, the refresher is good. If you've never taken one, it's a good idea to look into something like that. And then if you wanted to have a vessel safety check, you can contact your local Coast Guard auxiliary, or we also have a vessel safety inspector on staff here as well. So those are three really big things: checking your equipment, making sure you have all the proper safety equipment, a vessel safety check, and just a boating safety course or some kind of educational refresher.
Now, Jared, where can you take a safety course like that?
The Mass Environmental Police offer them, and they're usually free of charge from the Environmental Police. U.S. Power Squadrons is another that offers them. And if you check either of their websites, it'll give you a list of locations and times and some of the requirements. Now, one thing for safe boating classes is I've told people in the past that it's a great opportunity for parents and children to do something together, but children are required to be 12 years old in order to do so, in order to take the class in Massachusetts.
Interesting, but never a bad idea once they're over that age limit to go ahead and take them with you, because it is never too early to start learning about boating safety. What should we be thinking about when we're on the boat? We have our life jackets, we've made that plan, let someone know where we're going. What else do we need to think about as far as safety when we're on the boat?
Well, we need to make sure that we have a proper lookout or a proper watch all the time. You always want somebody looking for hazards, other boats, things of that nature. Things can sneak up on you quick. If there is just even a small chop, like with the wind that we have today, you may miss a lobster pot or something like that. If you're running back and forth in Nantucket Sound, there's a lot of lobster buoys and things like that out there that can get lost in the chop very easily because The wind may be a certain direction that you don't see them. So somebody to maintain a proper lookout is always good.
So kind of making sure you have almost like an assistant skipper with you, someone designated to really help out while you're out on the water.
Yes, absolutely. And then operating in a safe manner for the conditions, the boat that you have, the boat traffic around you, following all the guidelines that are set forth both by state, federal, and local regulation. Just being safe. I can equate a lot to driving a motor vehicle. And if you're in heavy traffic, you really aren't going to be weaving in and out of people. And it's the same concept goes on in a boat.
Interesting question for you, Jared. How do we know, and I'm sure this is something they would cover in that boating safety class, but how do we know who has the right of way in certain situations on the water?
Well, if you're coming to a crossing situation, it's very similar to pulling up to a four-way intersection. The vessel that's to your right is going to have the right of way.
Interesting.
The easiest way I can explain it is I always give way to every other boat out there. I would rather somebody else goes because I don't necessarily know their intention. Boats don't have directionals and brake lights like a car does. So I'm more apt to just back off and let somebody else go where they want to go.
Yeah, definitely.
That's how I do it because I know that I'm going to be safe that way if I keep my distance.
Now, what about having stuff on board that if you do get yourself in a situation that you need help getting out of, maybe you're in distress for some reason, your boat has stopped working, the engine failed for some reason, what kinds of products or devices would you need to alert someone that you're in need of help?
Well, there's multiple things. Some of them you can use to try to mitigate a situation yourself, such as a manual bailing device if your boat started taking on water. And that would be one that is not attached to the boat's engine. Most boats have an installed bilge pump, but we're talking about something that's not attached to the boat's engine. So if you lose power, it still has the capability of working. Any boating supply store will sell manual pumps, but something as simple as cutting the bottom off of a laundry detergent jug or something like that will also serve that purpose. You're going to want to have a whistle or a sound-making device. Again, something that's not attached to the power system and the electrical system on the boat, because if you lose that, you still want to be able to make sounds. You're going to want to have visual distress signals or flares, and you need to have day and night flares based on the size of your boat. If your boat is 16 feet or greater, you have to have day and night flares. Now, most flare manufacturers have created a package now that you can purchase, which has your sufficient quota of day and night all in one package. And most of those come with a whistle in the grouping as well. So it satisfies two requirements in one shot with those. And the other big thing is that people forget is a throwable Type 4 PFD, which those would be like the square seat cushion type or a ring buoy or something like that. Those, you have to have one on board for every boat, but those do not count towards your requirement for people on the boat because they're not designed to be worn.
Great. Important to have that. And real quick, before we end, I want to definitely chat about this briefly. It is definitely important to be sober while you're controlling a boat and on the water. So you can get an operating under the influence charge if you are boating under the influence of alcohol.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. The last weekend in June, the 23rd, 24th, and 25th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, is a nationwide campaign against boating under the influence. It's called Operation Dry Water. But yes, if you do drink while you're boating, please do it in moderation and remember that the sun takes a more drastic effect. It amplifies the effects of alcohol in your system. Boating under the influence, the legal limit is still 0.08, just like if you were driving a motor vehicle. And a boating under the influence charge can attach to your driver's license as well under Melanie's law. So, yes, that cannot be stressed enough. please be safe and be sober when you boat.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jared, for all of these important tips. We really appreciate it. And now we can all head out on the water and know we're going to be safe.
Yes, and we have links to these on our website, on the town's webpage.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and have fun out there today.
Thanks, Sarah. Have a great weekend.
You as well. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Our guest today, Jared Smaller, he is the Assistant Harbor Master for the town of Barnstable. Now let's go ahead and find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. You can enjoy a great movie with the family at the Cotuit Library this weekend. The library is showing Kubo and the Two Strings this Saturday, June 17th at 7. The event is free to attend. You can visit the cotuitlibrary.org to learn more. You can get some fresh fruit and veggies, homemade baked goods, and enjoy some live music at the Cape Cod Beer Farmers Market. That farmers market takes place every Friday during the summer from 3 to 6. There are no board, committee, or commission meetings today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back on Monday with another great show for you. On Monday's show, we're going to talk more about summer reading programs at our local library. We're going to find out why teachers hope kids continue to read over the summer months, and we'll chat with Cape Cod Community College Communications Director Michael Gross. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.